Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dream Team Professor podcast. Today we're going to be recapping the weekend's fixtures. The only game that hasn't taken place yet is the West Ham Bournemouth fixture, but we can look back at all the rest. So we'll be looking at all the ratings, all the top performers. We're going to be taking a little look in specific at the Spurs Newcastle game and the performance of Kieran Trippier, just because he's kept now 3 back-to-back star mans. So we're just going to have a little look on who scored to try and find out why he keeps getting star man and how he's pulling it off. And then we're going to finish off with a little bit of a team update just to see how my best teams are getting on. But yeah, we'll get started then with the Nottingham Forest Liverpool game. So this was another really disappointing result for Liverpool. Just as we started to think that the players might become an option again, Mohamed Salah, Trent, even Virgil van Dijk, we thought they might start popping up as options again. Even Darwin Núñez was looking fairly good, and Firmino. But we'll start with the lineups because this was a bit disappointing as well. So we already knew that we'd have Diaz out injured and Jota out injured. But actually Darwin Núñez missed this game as well, and he didn't even make the bench. You had Trent Alexander-Arnold who started on the bench as well. So they're just easing him back in. And you did see Robertson start the game again. But it looked like Liverpool were playing their 4-4-2 formation again, which was Salah and Firmino up front this time. But Salah was just really ineffective in this game. But we'll get onto that in a minute. So the star man, he was Henderson again in goal for Nottingham Forest. And that's back-to-back star man awards for him as well. So yeah, he's looking quite good. I wouldn't trust the Nottingham Forest keeper as an option, to be honest, in Dream Team. But yeah, good performance from him. And actually, the majority of the Nottingham Forest backline ended up getting good ratings. So a really good performance from them. They mostly did sort of sit back, but when they got forward, they were looking dangerous on pretty much every counter-attack, just where Liverpool plays so high up. And then the goal came from Awoniyi up front. So he got 8 points in total, a 7.8 rating in this game. But yeah, Liverpool just looked pretty poor again. Probably their best player, in my opinion, was Virgil van Dijk, who he didn't actually get a rating in this game, but he had 3 really good chances to score. I think 2 were quite good, but one of them he just made the complete wrong decision. He could have headed it at goal when he tried to get it across to Firmino, but to be honest, the best options that, or the best chances that Liverpool had all came from sort of set pieces and crosses in the end, which was quite surprising considering Trent didn't start the game. When he did come on, he did look quite dangerous, and he got a 6.7 rating, even though he didn't play a big chunk of the game, which might show that. Crosses are looked on quite favourably, as you'll see when we talk about Trippier. But yeah, big talking points from the game. So you had Alisson, he got a rating in this one, and he done some really good saves to keep Liverpool in the game, to be honest. Then you had Milner and Elliott were the only other players that got ratings for Liverpool. I did think Harvey Elliott looked fairly good in that sort of more of a right midfield role he was playing. But overall, I think Salah looked pretty ineffective in that new formation. He was playing more central, which we did want, but largely ineffective, to be honest. He had 2 shots on target and 1 shot off, but none of them were great, to be honest with you. And then this game, really, the way Liverpool were playing, it was calling out for Darwin Núñez, to be honest. Like the amount of crosses they were putting in, and they won quite a lot of free kicks that they were putting in, and they did look dangerous from those opportunities, but they just couldn't do it. And to be honest, Nottingham Forest, they did, even though they were deep, they did have quite a few chances, and it was Alisson that kept him in the game, really. Could have had quite a few more. So yeah, disappointing all round for Liverpool. And yeah, just as a few of us thought that Liverpool assets might be back on the cards, I still think you'd be quite put off. I think they have got, I think it's Leeds in the next game. So if you have got Salah or some of the attacking options, Leeds are looking pretty terrible as well. But we just don't know what Liverpool are going to turn up. And in Dream Team and all the fantasy football games, inconsistency is the worst thing. You want someone that you can rely on week in, week out. And yeah, Liverpool just don't look like that at the minute. But the only thing I would say, they have got a lot of injuries at the moment. But yeah, they should still be beating Nottingham Forest, to be honest. I think it was Thiago was out last minute. I think I think I saw that was an ear infection possibly. So he probably won't be out for too long. But yeah, they really did look like they missed Darwin Núñez in my opinion. But yeah, 1-0 win to Nottingham Forest and another disappointing result for Liverpool. Man City versus Brighton. So the Star Man Award went to Kevin De Bruyne in this game, and he scored an absolute screamer. Such a good goal in this one. So he got the 13 points, but it was another really good performance from Haaland, and he got 2 first half goals, and you thought he was on for another hat-trick, to be honest with you. One from the penalty spot, which was a bit controversial, the way that Bernardo Silva won it. He kind of left the leg hanging, but to be honest, I thought it was a penalty. The commentary I was listening to thought he pretty much dived for it, but I thought it was quite smart, to be honest. And he ended up, Bernardo, getting 2 assists in this one, if you count the winning the penalty, which Dream Team gives you the points for. So he got 2 assists, and Ederson got one of the assists to Haaland. So Haaland scored from the penalty spot, but he also scored a goal where Ederson did a big kick out and he went straight to Haaland, who sort of barged the defender out of the way and just slotted that one home. It was a really good finish. It's 2 goals for Haaland again, no surprise, and everyone owns him. But Kevin De Bruyne, if you had him, he set you up quite nicely this week because there weren't many points passed around this weekend. Cancelo, no surprise, he ended up with a 7 rating in this game, and Bernardo Silva got the 2 assists and rating too. But yeah, wasn't many ratings, especially in the defence for Man City, which probably harmed quite a lot of people's ranks. One key point though which was bad for my team, is Akanji is definitely, I thought initially that when Kyle Walker was out injured, that Cancelo would be the new right back and then Gomez would come in at left back. But he's disappointed since he's come in and barely played any games. It looks like they've favoured Akanji as the right back. So he was playing as centre back, but they've moved Akanji to right back, Cancelo to left back, and then we've seen Laporte and Diaz come back as the main partnership at centre back now. So still didn't manage to keep a clean sheet, and Trossard scored a really good goal, and he's been really impressive this season, and I wouldn't be surprised if I saw one of the bigger clubs come in for him. Personally, I'd quite like to see him at Arsenal as another sort of winger option for us, but yeah, he scored a good goal in this game, which was assisted by Solly March. Another thing that was quite disappointing for people though was I know a lot of people brought in Foden after his good performances lately, and he started on the bench surprisingly. You had Mahrez start in his place. He got a yellow card and didn't get a 7 rating. And even if you have got him in your team, he's not the penalty taker anymore either. So Haaland stepped up for that one. So if you've got Mahrez, that would have been disappointing. And same for Foden really. He couldn't quite contribute to the game for the little amount of time that he came on. But yeah, other than that, there is one last thing that I did miss. So I just wanted to speak about Bernardo Silva actually. So I was looking at the Man City midfielders, or midfielders in general, to be honest. And Bernardo Silva is really quite quickly climbing up there for the point scorers in midfield. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, Foden and Saka, who are quite clear of the pack in terms of points. But then Bernardo Silva's quite close behind now, and he's the 3rd best City mid now, but by quite a way. So you've got De Bruyne and Foden who are up there, but Mahrez has not been very good. You've got Gundogan who's not been very good, and even Grealish has been really poor. So, but not if you're looking to add quite a few more City midfielders, if you can't quite afford De Bruyne and Foden at the same time, you might want to just have either Foden and Silva or De Bruyne and Silva. That gives a little bit of a more budget option. He's not cheap in 4.2 million, but he's quite a bit cheaper than both your Kevin De Bruyne and Foden. So yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on him, and I did bring him into one of my teams, but it's not one of the ones that's doing very well at the moment. But yeah, one to keep an eye on. Then on to the Chelsea versus Man United game that was played at Stamford Bridge. And that was 1-1 in the end. And yeah, this fixture seems to end in draws quite a lot of the time. Star man came to Casemiro, so 13 points for him. He ended up getting a last minute winner in this game, which was a killer to any of the Chelsea block or anyone that's got any of the Chelsea defenders or keeper in their team. And the goals were scored by Jorginho from the penalty spot. He got brought down by McTominay, who'd barely been on the pitch 5 minutes. Really stupid from a corner, got dragged down. Jorginho rarely misses those, so he put that in the 87th minute. So it did look like it was going to be a winner for Chelsea there. But yeah, Casemiro come up with a corner right at the last minute. A header from a cross at the last minute, and that was Luke Shaw that put that one in. So he got the assist in that game. I did think Luke Shaw looked quite good, to be honest, considering he's really sort of gone down in the pecking order now. He played in this game and he did look quite good in the end. He was putting some good crosses in. So he got a 7.1 rating and the 4 points in this one because he got a yellow card. And then it was Broha who got the points for the sort of assist for the Chelsea penalty. He was the one that was brought down by McTominay. But talking points really, Cucurella, someone who's in quite a lot of my teams, he come off early again. So he come off early in the last game, and he come off again. So after 36 minutes, he was taken off, and it didn't look like it was an injury. Again, it looked like it was a change of formation or change of shape from Graham Potter. And he really does seem to sort of freestyle with these formations, and he's not afraid to change things now. Especially now he's got so many more options at Chelsea than he did have at Brighton. So he looked like he changed from a 3-4-3 to a 4-3-3. They kept Chilwell on as the left back and had a back four rather than have Cucurella at the left centre back and Chilwell as the left wing back. So yeah, he looked like the fall guy, and he was the fall guy in the last game as well. So that's quite disappointing, especially as he didn't get the clean sheet in this one. It didn't matter too much in the last game because he got the clean sheet points anyway. But yeah, in this one it was quite disappointing. But none of the Chelsea defenders. So obviously it was looking quite good for Chelsea right at the end. People with Chelsea blocks thought they were going to get the clean sheet points, but once they conceded that late goal, we come away with no Chelsea defenders getting a rating. And Kepa, actually, the man of the moment, he was the only one that did get a rating, so 7.1 in this game. A few people were giving him stick for not saving the Casemiro header, but I mean, he's been so good recently. I feel it's a bit harsh to just be digging him out for that one. So yeah, he got the 3 points, so you'll be happy if you've got him in goal. But other than that, not many points to go around, so none for the defenders at all. Jorginho got the goal, and he did get a 7 rating just about. And then Sterling again, he's just not really done it since Graham Potter arrived. He just hasn't really been chipping in with any ratings. I think he's had 2 ratings, and barely chipped in with any goals or assists. He's really looked out of form lately, so I'd be moving Sterling on if I had him in any of my teams and had any transfers left. But yeah, not looking good at all. And you just can't seem to gel with that front line at the minute for Chelsea. Even Aubameyang looked really off it. So yeah, quite disappointing if you've got any sort of Chelsea players going forward and in defence in this game, to be fair. I did think Bruno Fernandes for Man United, he didn't get a rating, he didn't get any points in this game, but from what I saw, I thought he looked really dangerous. He was putting in quite a lot of crosses, and he does seem to I feel like he does seem to step it up for the big games, and especially as he's the captain as well. He does seem to perform quite well, I think. But yeah, no points reflected in this game, but one I would keep an eye on, especially as he's dropped in price quite a lot. We did see the Anthony spin. I don't know if any of you caught that, but me and my mates have been watching out for that one quite a lot after seeing his highlight reels before joining. But it weren't enough to get him the rating in that one. So the Anthony spin isn't affecting his who scored points on this one, I don't think. So a bit disappointing for that. He got a -1. Casemiro star man, but other than that, it was quite low scoring for them as well. You had Martinez got a 7 rating, and I think he looks like a really good defender, to be honest. I must admit, I was one of those ones that were quite sceptical at first the price and everyone talking about his height as well. But yeah, his aggressiveness in the tackles and wanting to win the ball so much, I really do like watching him play, to be honest. I'd have quite liked him to go to Arsenal in the end, but I don't think we were going to pay that money. But yeah, he got 7 rating in this one, and I can only imagine that's due to the volume of tackles that he was making. And when I was looking at who scored, he does complete quite a lot of passes as well. So yeah, one to keep an eye on. I didn't think he was an option at first, but he's cropping up there with the 7 ratings. And I know a lot of people got Dalot in their team. He didn't get a rating in this one, considering he's been up there with the 7s. But he didn't get a yellow card either, so he was one away from suspension. So yeah, he lives to fight another day. But pretty much that's all there was from the Man United game. Right, then I'm going to go to the Spurs versus Newcastle match, and that was a 2-1 win for Newcastle, which I really wasn't expecting. I knew Newcastle would give them a game, but yeah, I really wasn't expecting that. So Starman went to Trippier, which I mentioned that's his 3rd Starman award in a row now, and he's absolutely racking up the 7 ratings as well. So that's his 10th 7 rating of the season. So he really is just smashing it on Dream Team at the minute, and it's not even when he's only getting clean sheets, which you do find quite a lot of the time. I think Cancelo's the only person that I kind of regularly notice manages to get 7s when they don't keep a clean sheet. But Kieran Trippier has been absolutely incredible, to be honest, as a Dream Team asset, and I've not got him in many of my teams, to be honest with you. I thought that his price was a bit much for someone that wasn't playing European football, but yeah, I'll throw my hands up and I definitely got that one wrong. He's been absolutely brilliant. So he got Starman. I'm going to come back to why I think he's getting these Starman awards so regularly. But then the goals, you had Callum Wilson scored. And that was a massive mess up from Lloris, who I've got in a lot of my teams in goal. He was calling for thinking that he got fouled. Yeah, I'm not sure how it did look. It did look a little bit like a foul from Wilson. He did smash into him, but the thing is, Lloris came so far out of his box to collect the ball, and he didn't really look convincing, both when he went down and with his control as well. So yeah, I think that could have gone either way, but disappointing game from Lloris, and he only got a 5.5 rating in this, which shows how poor he was. So Wilson got the goal. And Almiron again. So I brought Almiron into my team. I took Paqueta out and brought Almiron in, and yeah, he's on fire at the minute. I think that was his 6th goal of the season, which is his career best now in the Premier League. And yeah, he's looking really confident. And then Harry Kane got the other goal, which was from a cross, from a corner, flicked on by Lenglet. From a corner so yeah, the assists were Lenglet and Longstaff, and the goals were Wilson, Almiron and Harry Kane. So Harry Kane, it's a bit daft to say he's gone under the radar, but I don't think we're really appreciating how good of a season that he's having, just because Haaland's just destroying the league, to be honest. But Harry Kane's got 11 goals and 3 assists already. And another guy I wanted to mention was another defender who I think I mentioned in the last pod as well, but Fabian Schär, another rating as well, considering no clean sheet, 7.1, and he's right up there with the defenders. So yeah, he's looking like a real good option. If you can't quite get to Trippier, you might want to consider Schär as an option. And then the only other thing I put down really is Emerson Royale, who I had when he got sent off and he was suspended for quite a long amount of time. He's back in the side. So again, it's really hard to predict these wing backs now. So I think it was Sessegnon and Emerson Royale started the game, and you did have Doherty come on and Perisic come on, although he is a midfielder in this game. But so much rotation at wing back / full back. Yeah, it started off as a good option to kind of have one and know they'll get on, but Spurs aren't looking solid anymore, and there's just too much rotation for me to choose a fullback from them, so it's an avoid at the moment. But yeah, let's go on to Kieran Trippier. So why is Kieran Trippier getting so many +7 ratings and so many Starman awards after getting 3 back-to-back Starmans? So I had a little look on who scored, and I'm no expert. I don't know how their sort of algorithms work or how their ratings work in any sort of way. But I just wanted to have a look at that last game and see what he was doing right, and then have a look at the last 3 games as well to see what sort of things might be influencing his ratings. So like I said, he's got 10 plus 7 ratings. And when I looked at it, so he's put the most crosses in a row. He's put the most crosses in per game, 3 games in a row. So I'd imagine that that's weighing in quite heavily. And when I say he's put the most crosses in, like, it wasn't even close. In some of the games, he was sort of 4 or 5 crosses more than some of the other players. So I think that's definitely going to be impacting his point scoring quite a lot. And then also, I was looking at pass completion as well. So I used the Fantasy Premier League stats on this as well as the Who Scored, just because they're quite easy to look through. But quite often he was finishing as one of the top performers for passes completed. And then when you looked at the list of who completes the most, there wasn't many fullbacks on there, to be honest. The only ones that I really saw was Cancelo for Man City, and I think it was James Justin as well for Leicester, were really the only sort of fullbacks that were in the list for higher passes completed. But he was right up there for passes and passes completed. So everything seems to be going down Trippier's side. They're quite heavily going down that right and putting crosses in as their tactic. So he's heavily involved, and that's obviously got to be weighing in. And key passes as well. So in the last 3 games, he was inside the top 2 or 3 performers for key passes as well. I don't know whether that includes crosses. I imagine it does if they're an accurate one. But key passes, he was right up there again. And then touches as well. So he was in the top, this is in the Premier League now, overall. He was in the top 5 players for overall touches. So that shows how involved he really is for Newcastle, and even in comparison to the rest of the league. And then top 6 for key passes overall in all of the games, and top for crosses for the whole Premier League. So overall, I think it's just general involvement. We used to see Harry Kane getting star man quite a lot, but obviously that was heavily weighted, including his goals. But he also has quite a high amount of touches and passes for someone that's a striker. But yeah, Kieran Trippier, he seems to be top performer for touches, crosses, key passes. So everything in those games. And he only has to be, he's always better than the rest of the Newcastle team for these stats. But then he only has to be better than the other side to get star man in this game. So yeah, everyone kind of, and myself included, kind of think, oh, Who Scored just loves this guy, like they're just giving him the ratings. But when you do dig into why they're getting the ratings, when you look at the stats on Who Scored, you really can see why it's coming out that way. I did put just a tweet out after the game, so I did go over it just slightly then, but just in that game against Spurs, another thing they registered, they've got a column called Key Events, and one of his key events from the game was a clearance off the line, which I think it was when Son just tried to chip the keeper and Trippier came in and cleared that. So if he gets a key event, I think that could be quite a big thing. And then from that game, most touches, most block shots, most crosses. He had the second most passes, the second most aerials won, which was a surprising one really, considering his height compared to the rest of the Newcastle side, and even players like Dyer. But yeah, second most aerials won, and the second most tackles in the game as well. So yeah, definitely in this game, well deserved. And yeah, to be honest, I really would consider putting him in my team now, especially as Newcastle look like they are best of the rest outside of Europe. So yeah, Kieran Trippier, I'd get him in my team straight away. Right, then we had Southampton versus Arsenal, which finished 1-1 in the end. So a bit disappointing for Arsenal, but I don't think they deserved the win, to be honest, in this game. It started really well. The first 30 minutes were brilliant, and it got kicked off with a Xhaka goal after 11 minutes. And we're getting bored of saying it, to be honest. He's just incredible form at the minute. Another right-footed goal as well. So the one midweek was right-footed, and then this one was a cross from Ben White, and then he put it straight into the top of the net with his right foot, and he got the star man in this game. So another really good option. I think he's under 3 million still, so quite a cheap option. I must admit it was a toss-up for me between getting Almiron in and Xhaka. And obviously I watched the Arsenal game before I watched the Newcastle Spurs game. And when Xhaka scored, I was absolutely gutted. I was like, oh, got the wrong guy. But yeah, Almiron scored in the end, so that made me feel a bit better. But Xhaka still got the Star Man award and 13 points. So yeah, he's still looking a brilliant option, to be fair. And Ben White was the assister for that goal. And then Southampton's goal was Stuart Armstrong, and Elanusi got the assist. I hope I didn't butcher that. But yeah, talking points from this game. Gabriel Jesus, he was manhandled all game. And there was a lot of complaints about the refereeing in that game. I don't want to go too much into it because although the referee was bloody awful, Arsenal just weren't great, and I don't honestly think that the refereeing was the reason Arsenal not lost the game, but dropped points in the end. They were quite sloppy overall. After the first 30 minutes, it really did drop off, and the second half they were quite poor. So can't blame the referee for the draw. But yeah, talking points. Gabriel Jesus could be a bit worrying for some people that have got him on Dream Team, or a lot of people, because he's highly owned. But he's not scored in 5 games now since the Spurs game. Personally, like as a fan, I'm not too concerned because I think he just does so much more off the ball and offers so much more for the team. I'm not too concerned. But obviously doesn't translate to points in Dream Team, so can be a bit worrying. He's got 5 goals and 5 assists in total at the minute, so he's still doing okay. But yeah, he gets away with it because the price point's a bit lower than some of the big hitters. But yeah, it's someone who I would be a little bit worried about and someone who I would be keeping an eye on, especially with the likes of Kane, Haaland. I know they're much more expensive, but they are really firing at the minute. So it's something to consider whether or not you want to keep him. The fixtures are still decent, but it's giving you all something to think about. The only thing I would say, he's still getting in good chances. There was one where he was completely dragged back, and there was quite a few comparisons to McTominay on Broha for the penalty in that game. He was really manhandled all game, and he could have easily won a penalty, I thought. But got quite a few chances. There was a 1-on-1 that was just blocked right at the last minute. So he's still getting these opportunities, but yeah, it's not putting them away for the moment. So something to think about there. Nothing for Saka in this game, and he actually got booked for a dive that didn't look like a dive for me. Those have got Martinelli. He looked dangerous but didn't translate to any points. And then disappointing in defence to concede that goal. I think Ben White was the only one that come away with any sort of points, and that was because he got the assist. That gave him a 7 rating as well. So 5 points for Ben White. I would still say though, like in my opinion now, I think Ben White and Tomiyasu are looking like good options to me because they're getting minutes in all of the games and the Europa League games. They're coming on as subs, and there's rotation in those fullback positions with Tierney as well. But for the likes of Gabriel and Saliba, I think they're both 50-50 who's going to play the Europa League games. Gabriel's had more so far, but I'm not sure who'll get the PSV game. So yeah, I think the fullbacks for their value are looking like better options, to be honest. Other than that, though, I thought that Ødegaard looked quite impressive, but again, only a 6.7. He scored a goal, but it was chalked off because Tierney, the ball kind of went out of play when he put the cross in. So that was a bit disappointing. But yeah, overall, it's quite a disappointing game for people that have got Arsenal assets. Unless you've got Ben White in like an Arsenal block or anything like that, or Granit Xhaka, you'd have been quite disappointed. But overall, Granit Xhaka on fire, 4 goals and 3 assists now, so he's looking really good. Then I changed the order round of this podcast just to put the teams of the least owned players at the end instead. So we've got Wolves versus Leicester. This finished 4-0 to Leicester, and they're really starting to pick up their form again now. They've turned the corner, and we can't say the same about Wolves. 4-0 to Leicester. Tielemans with an absolute screamer. I think he only does score screamers, to be honest. Then Harvey Barnes grabbed a goal again, and we tipped him the last week. He's looking really good. And Maddison, who is quite a popular Dream Team pick usually, he was back on the score sheet. And Jamie Vardy, who came on as a sub, he got a goal and an assist after downing his Red Bull. There was a picture going around of him necking that, and he's such a shit house as well. I just loved his celebration in front of the Wolves fans. But yes, other than that, Vardy got the assist. Dewsbury Hall got the assist for the Barnes goal again. So they're like a good partnership lining up. And Castane, who we spoke about last week, he got 10 points overall. So he got the clean sheet points and he got an assist and a rating. So 10 points from him is another good output. And the defence, I think it was Danny Ward got the star man in this one, which is a big surprise. He's really cheap in the game. But the only thing I would say, Leicester got 4 clean sheets out of their last 5, but they've got City next. So I don't imagine that's going to carry on. But overall, I've just highlighted Barnes and Maddison are looking dangerous, and Castane is a good option maybe once you've got that City game out of the way. From the Wolves' point of view, though, absolutely bloody awful. Nothing from Traore, the 7 rating machine, and nothing for any of their players apart from minuses. 1 goal. They've not scored more than 1 goal a game all season so far. So if they're going to stay up, I think it's a Big Sam job or a dicey job for me. But yeah, moving on to the next one. Everton versus Crystal Palace was 3-0 to Everton, and star man was Anthony Gordon in this game. You had Gordon with a goal, Dwight McNeil and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's back in the team now, and he grabbed a goal here, 3.2 million. So he's someone who I have not put in my team regularly, but when you're chasing or you're trying to get someone in just to be a differential, he was someone who I previously did used to like. He's a lot cheaper than he used to be at 3.2 million and takes penalties as well. But I think it's too early to start going down that route. But someone who I do want to highlight, though, was Alex Iwobi, who got 2 assists in this game. And he's having a really good season, actually, so far, Iwobi. Just putting up this game now. 2 assists in this game. He's only 2.3 million, and he's on 36 points. He's got just the 1 goal, but 6 assists now in total, which is pretty ridiculous. 6 assists puts him only behind Kevin De Bruyne. And I think he's on par with Bernardo now. But yeah, 6 assists is pretty ridiculous, to be fair. He's looking like the new Ozil. That new midfield role for him is really paying off. A lot more central than he used to be. But he's Everton's top point scorer now. But then on to Crystal Palace, there wasn't really much going on for them. Nothing for Zaha, nothing for Eze, nothing for Elise. So pretty disappointing for Crystal Palace all in all. But Iwobi for 2.3 million, he's looking like quite a good option, to be fair. Then you had Aston Villa 4, Brentford 0. Those who had Raya were buzzing before. They had back-to-back star man for him. But now he got absolutely hammered. Got -3 in this game. Star Man award went to Danny Ings, who got 17 points. He got he got 2 goals. Bailey got a goal, and Ollie Watkins got a goal. Bailey also got an assist. Douglas Luiz, he got 1, and also Mings, which was surprising. He's turned it back on now. Gerrard's out the door, and he got brought down for a penalty, so he got the assist points there. But God knows how Villa pulled this one out of the bag, to be honest. Gerrard, I never quite understand it when manager gets sacked and all of a sudden they start playing well. Quite alarming how the players can do that, to be honest. Obviously, there was some deeper problems going on. But yeah, Brentford really inconsistent so far this season. They've done well against some of the bigger sides, like obviously against Man United they've done well, and Chelsea, they were kept quite tight against Chelsea, but yeah, they're getting battered by some of the smaller teams, which is surprising. And then Emi Martinez I've highlighted in this game, so I actually started with him as my cheap goalkeeper at the start of the season. I did bottle it in the end. He started having a bit of a wobble, so I took him out of my team and went for someone that was a European keeper in Hugo Lloris. But actually, I would have been better off if I just kept Emi Martinez in. He's the 5th best goalkeeper now, and he's actually above Lloris, De Gea and Ramsdale on points. So just goes to show, if you can choose the right cheap keeper, there's they're good options, to be honest. So it's just trying to find the right one. But yeah, 5th best keeper for Martinez. Other than that, not too much to report. Just that Aston Villa just managed to magically turn it on. Now their manager's been sacked. But yeah, surprising result, that one. Then the last one, Leeds versus Fulham. So that was a 3-2 win for Fulham. And Leeds are in big trouble now. That's 5 losses and 1 draw in their last 6. They did get a goal from Rodrigo and Somerville. So he is racking up the goals this season, but it's not really helping them. Fulham had a goal from Mitrovic, and he's on fire this season. So 9 goals for him, and he's only behind Haaland and Kane for goals scored. Decordova-Reid and Willian got the other goals, and in assists, Pereira got 2, and he's been brilliant this season. Actually, Pereira, he's on sort of all free kicks, most of the corners. Really is quite involved. So he got 2 assists, and he did have a 1-on-1 as well that he just hit straight at the keeper. But he had a really good chance to either square it or just finish it. Really, it did look like one he should be scoring. So he could have come away with probably the star man in that one. Willian ended up with it, 13 points. And then you just had Reid, who got an assist, and Gelhardt, who got the assist. Reid, we actually mentioned in the last game. I think he got a goal in the last one, but he's up to 2 goals and 1 assist, and he's 1.3 million now. So if you are really trying to put together sort of a Man City heavy side or a really expensive team, and you just want to chuck someone in there who's really cheap, he's doing quite well for someone that's under 2 million. But it's up to you whether you do that with your team. But yeah, if you really are scraping the barrel, he's got 2 goals and 1 assist so far. Then just quickly move into some team updates. So my mini league side is now my top team. My top team was the Chelsea block, but obviously they didn't do too well this week. So we'll just I'll show you my mini league side this week. So this one, it's got 43 points for the game week, which isn't too bad considering it's a bit of a quiet week for the big team defences. So 43 points this week, 671 points in total, and that was a increase in rank to 34k, which is still not very good, but we're improving. We've got a little bit of a climb this one. I've got no transfers left in this team. I made a transfer just after last week's podcast. I made a transfer Friday morning, and I mentioned that earlier, which was to take out Paqueta, because it looked like he had an injury. It was a shoulder injury that looked like it was going to be for 2 weeks. I'd seen on Twitter. Might be a bit less now. But I brought in Almiron, and he got the 8 points. So I wasn't really expecting anything from this Tottenham game. So 8 points, brilliant return for him. We'll start from the back then. So I had Hugo Lloris in goal. Obviously, we know that didn't work out. So he got a -1. Cucurella, disappointing. He came off after 36 minutes, and they didn't get the clean sheet. Saliba, no clean sheet from him. Gomez, this was a disappointing one, but I can't move him out because I have no transfers left. But he's suspended for this Borussia Dortmund game in midweek, so I hoped that he might play against Brighton, but he didn't feature at all. They decided to go for Cancelo at left back and Akanji at right back, so a blank for him, and I can't get rid of him, so he's going to blank this week. Cancelo got 3 points, which wasn't terrible considering they didn't get a clean sheet. He should hopefully get a return against Borussia Dortmund, potentially. Kevin De Bruyne, star man, 13 points. Happy with that, and he'll probably feature midweek. Saka, -1. That was disappointing. He didn't deserve the -1 for the alleged dive either, but I'm not sure whether or not he'll play that PSV game midweek, though. Arsenal are all but through, but they will want to just guarantee winning the group, I think. I think they need a draw, I think it is, to guarantee they win the group. I'm pretty sure. But I think Arsenal are just going to want to get that out of the way. So I'm not sure. He played the majority of the last PSV game, and he played, I think, full 90 minutes. So I think they've got to be careful with his minutes. But Arteta does seem to say, he said in an interview that all of the best players, Messi, Ronaldo, of old, they play twice a week, and he needs to get used to it. So he was pretty blunt about that. So he might feature, but we'll wait and see. And Mbeumo, disappointed with him. No points, and I thought he could get something against Villa. So I think I've almost run out of patience with him. Almiron, I mentioned. Harry Kane 8 points and Haaland 13 points. Happy with the two strikers. The only things I'll want to change probably is when the new lot of transfers come, I'll obviously have to have a think about the fixtures that they'll be facing and what we'll do with budget. But Lloris, I'm not convinced by anymore. They're not looking solid, and he's making some big mistakes now as well. So I wouldn't be too against moving him out for someone a bit cheaper, maybe Kepa or even a cheaper option potentially. And then Gomez, I'm going to have to get him out. He's fell so far down the pecking order at City. And they're getting their players back from injury now. So Laporte's back, Stones is back, Walker's probably going to be back soon. And they've got players that play in all sorts of positions. Ake can play at left back, Cancelo can play at left back. Yeah, I'm not convinced. Akanji's playing right back or centre back. We know Stones can play at right back. So, yeah, I think I'm going to ditch Gomez. That one didn't work out. And then Mbuemo, I'm just losing value on him now. He came close in quite a few games, but yeah, he's just not getting the points now. The only thing that's troubling me about taking him out potentially is they've got Wolves next, Forest, and then Gillingham. So I could stick with him for those games, and I'm going to have to for a few of them just because I've got no transfers. But not impressed with how he's done so far. Going to end it there for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please do subscribe and like this video if you're on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, if you could give us a follow on there, I'd really appreciate that. You'll get kept more up to date with the Dream Team content that I'm putting out. But yeah, that just about wraps it up. And the next podcast will likely be on probably Friday now after the European games have taken place. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.